Another important property of acids is that acids can react with metal. And when acids react with metal, they form hydrogen gas, which is H2, and they form a salt. Now remember that hydrogen gas is going to be H2 because hydrogen is one of the diatomic gases. And a salt does not necessarily mean NaCl. That really depends upon what the acid and the metal are that are going to react. In the case of hydrochloric acid, which is HCl, if you don't know that by now, you can make sure you look that up on table K. That's a list of common acids. So if I have some hydrochloric acid and I react it with the metal sodium, right? So my hydrochloric acid is going to be an aqueous solution and my sodium is going to be a solid. These are going to react. Now, one of the products that it's going to form is going to be the hydrogen gas. The other product that it's going to form is going to be a salt. Now, the hydrogen comes from the acid. And the salt, which is an ionic compound, is going to come from the metal and the nonmetal. So in this case, the metal is Na and the nonmetal is Cl. So in this case, you're going to make NaCl. Of the 5 types of reactions that we learned about earlier this year, what kind of reaction is this? If you said single replacement, you are correct. We have a compound and an element, and we get a different compound and a different element, but what really is happening here is that the sodium is replacing the hydrogen. So the hydrogen will be alone, and the sodium will take its place and bond with the negative ion from your acid. Now, there's one other thing wrong with this particular reaction. This reaction is not balanced. You can see that because there are 2 hydrogens in the products, but only 1 hydrogen in the reactants. And so therefore, in order to balance the hydrogens, I have to put a coefficient of 2 in front of my HCl. But that also makes me have 2 chlorines in my reactants, and I only have 1 chlorine in my products. So I need to put a coefficient of 2 in front of my NaCl. But now, in addition to having 2 chlorines in my products, I also have 2 sodiums, and so therefore I also need to have a 2 coefficient in front of my sodium. This represents the balanced reaction between the acid, hydrochloric acid, and the metal, sodium, to make hydrogen gas and sodium chloride. You need to be able to write completed reactions for metals and acids. When you do that, please make sure that you are checking your charges before you just put the metal next to the nonmetal for your salt. Make sure you check the charge of your metal and you check the charge of your nonmetal. So I'm going to give you an example here, and I want you to try it on your own. I'll give you some time to pause the video and try it on your own. Let's say, again, we'll start with hydrochloric acid, HCl. And this time we're going to start with the nonmetal magnesium. Sorry, with the metal magnesium. So when my hydrochloric acid reacts with magnesium, again, one of the products, whenever you have an acid reacting with a metal, one of the products is going to be hydrogen gas, which is H2 gas. And the other product is going to be a salt. Now that salt is going to be made up of the metal, that was a free element, and the nonmetal from the acid. So you please make sure that you check your charges. If you look up the charges of the magnesium and the chlorine, you will find the magnesium has a charge of +2 and chlorine has a charge of -1, which means the formula for the other product should be MgCl2. Now you can check whether this is balanced or not, but you can see just from the H's alone that you have a hydrogen, one hydrogen here and two hydrogens there. I have two chlorines here and only one over there. So I'm going to put a coefficient of 2 in front of my hydrochloric acid. Now I have two hydrogens on both sides. I have two chlorines on both sides, and I have one magnesium on both sides. And this represents the balanced reaction between magnesium and hydrochloric acid. Try this one on your own. This is hydrosulfuric acid. And lithium. So the products of lithium and hydrosulfuric acid is I'm going to have my hydrogen gas, and I'm going to have a compound, a salt, between lithium and sulfur. My lithium has a charge of +1. My sulfur has a charge of -2. And so therefore, my other compound should have a formula Li2S. If I continue and balance this reaction, I have to put a coefficient of 2 in front of the lithium, and then it will represent a balanced reaction between a metal and an acid.